think you should.
People of the Overwatch community hate one-trick ponies. You know, those people that only play one hero and refuse to switch no matter what the situation is. Now, I personally love one-trick ponies because you can abuse them to your advantage. You can take a one-trick pony that is on either team, yours or the enemy team, and usually create a win out of the game because of them. Let me explain why, but first I'd like to say, as far as the morality goes behind one-trick ponying, I really don't care. I'm indifferent. If you want to play multiple heroes and be flexible like most of the community, that's fine. But if you also only want to play one hero, you bought the game, go ahead and do that. I don't get why there's an argument here. Let people play what they want to. But anyway, back to the topic of abusing one-trick ponies. I see so many people that get in game and they're like, well, this Genji won't join voice comms. That's a loss. We lose the game. It's whatever. Or this Widowmaker not joining voice. She probably won't switch, guys. We just lost the game. Whatever. It doesn't matter. The moment you or anybody on your team thinks that is the moment you've written the game off as a loss and you will most likely lose the game. Overwatch is all about mindsets, right? So the first thing you got to do when you get a one trick on your team is not throw the game away. And here's why. The person that is a one-trick pony is at or around your rank, which means they can perform on that hero at or around your level that you're playing at right now in your competitive game. And honestly, most of the time, the skill level of that person is above their skill rating. Why is that? Well, it's simple. People tend to throw games without even realizing it when they get a one trick on their team. The moment you start getting angry because someone won't switch is the moment you start throwing the game. If you accept the fact that this guy isn't going to switch and you just play the game, your chances of winning have already gone up immensely. But it doesn't stop there. I want to tell you something that might blow your mind, something you've never thought of before. It's really not possible. Only me could have thought of this before. Are you ready? Build around your one trick.
Explosions.
I bet you've never thought of that before, but in all seriousness, this will get you more wins. When there's a one trick on your team, and the before mentioned is true, which is that they perform at your level or higher. If you build around them, they will play better than they normally do because they realize their team is actually supporting them, and you guys are probably going to have a better comp. You may not be happy about it. Trust me, I'm never happy to build around the guy on my team that won't communicate. But in the end, I know it will be better, and I will be happy in the long run because it will usually lead to a win. For example, Genji comes to mind when I think about one tricks. Build around your Genji. Run a Zarya, run an Ana, tell him you're going to give him nano boost. If they switch to Winston and they're countering the Genji, sometimes you need to switch to Hog to counter the Winston because we all know that Genji's not going to switch off. If you do this, if you tailor your game plan around keeping this player alive, or not entirely, but at least helping them out, just help them out, you will win more games. And I promise you that's the case. I have actually asked one-trick players. I know people that have one-tricked all the way to top 500 with heroes, and I've talked to multiple of them, and I've asked them what is the hardest thing when climbing as a one trick, and they say people on their own team that throw, that don't help them, that don't enable them to do what they know they can do. Enable your one tricks, allow yourself to be carried by them, and you will win more. Now, this is if they're on your team. I said in the beginning, it doesn't matter what team they're on, you can win the game. It's usually pretty easy to tell if the enemy team has a one trick. You know, you could go through all of their profiles and check, but nobody really likes that. Don't be that guy that looks through every one of the enemy team's profiles. But at one point in the game, you may realize someone has never switched and they're doing pretty well on their hero. And you know, this is another piece of information that you've probably never thought of before. Are you ready for this? Pick a counter to their hero. I'm sure you're all smart enough to know this. I don't think you're all idiots. So let me make this a little more specific. Put a little more emphasis on the one trick on the enemy team than you would normally in any given game. Because if you can shut them down, you can shut their entire enemy team down by really triggering them. People get triggered. Now, I don't condone going into chat and being like, hey, why haven't you switched, Genji? We have a Winston that's countering you. Like, don't try to aggravate them. But people will get aggravated, and you can use that to your advantage if you counter the enemy team's one trick, and you do so with a little more emphasis than you would normally just another enemy hero. Most people will not have seen this video. Most people will not treat the one tricks on their team with respect. They will not care about them, and if they're being countered, instead of actually trying to counter their counter, like I told you to do, they will just probably flame the person that's not switching. And when there's flame, there's toxicity, there's triggerness, that's not a word, there's tilt, that's the word I'm looking for, there's tilt, and there's bad play, and your team's gonna win. I know this video is short, but I just see so many players going about this with the wrong attitude. Pretty much I'd say 90+% of the community goes about this with the wrong attitude. They show flame, they show contempt, and they show hatred towards people that do this. And in my opinion, it's just like, hey, this guy one tricks Widowmaker. He's probably good at Widowmaker. I'm going to let him do that. I'm going to play a hero that goes well with that. And it works. That's pretty much all I'm going to cover regarding winning more with one tricks in your game. Now I'd actually like to take a brief moment to talk about whether or not it should be acceptable for people to one trick in Overwatch. So if you're only here for the strategy and you want to win more games, that part is done. So why do people hate one tricks in the community? Well, they can create an unfun experience, to be honest. When you get more than one in your team, it can seem like you're being forced into something that isn't good. For example, if you get 2 one-tricks in your game and you get like a Genji and a Widowmaker, you know, that can work if you're running a very specific dive comp, but not always. You know, it's not always the best thing. For example, the other day, we had a Symmetra in one of my games. I think I was on my Smurf, and I had a Symmetra in my game that came into the game, pasted this message I'm going to put on screen into the chat. Entire team goes ballistic and tilts, and we lose the first 2 rounds of King of the Hill. We win the next 3 because we had 2 Smurfs on our team. It was not because of the Symmetra, I promise you that. She was less than useless. But, like, see, this unfun experience was created by this person. And this is where I have a moral dilemma. You know, I'm all for saying, you know what, play whatever you want. You paid the same price for Overwatch as me. You bought the game. You had a goal in mind. Who am I to tell you what to play? But on the other hand, I also see the argument where people are like, hey, this is a competitive game and I want to win. Why are these non-competitive players being put in my game? Because to be honest, if you're a one trick, you're not really a competitive player. You may be a very good player, but you're not playing with a competitive mindset unless your competition is just ranking up on one hero, which it is for some people. So in my opinion, I am indifferent. I said this at the beginning of the video, and this is why. I don't like telling people what to do, but they are creating an unfun experience at times. Tell me what you think down below, and be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed. If you didn't, there's that dislike button too. I wouldn't like if you used it, but you have the option, and I'll see you guys all later. Have a good one. Lone Hawk out.